Hi everyone, in this video, we're going to debunk tons of common things parents say. There are exactly 70 different phrases, and we'll debunk them all. Strict and rigid parents use most of these phrases. I'm 100% sure that even if your family is very permissive and loving, they've said at least 20 of these 70 phrases, but if none of them have ever been said to you, hats off to you. This video won't be like other videos. This video won't touch on already debunked topics like Santa Claus, horoscopes, and the evil eye. It will address more social and conversational topics. If you really want, you can tell your own parents the debunks I present here, or you can send this video to them. I'm sure people with strict families need a video like this. 1. You will do what we say. This falls under logical dogmatism and the appeal to authority fallacy. It's also a self-sealing fallacy. Parents are not leaders, presidents, or bosses. Forcing children to do what they want is dictatorial. However, the point is that even the most authoritative people can make mistakes. Parents can make far more mistakes than children. Most parents aren't philosophers, debaters, defenders, scientists, or politicians. They are ordinary people. Therefore, it's a major logical fallacy for parents to say things like this. The child might be doing the right thing because they live modern life more. They might know better. So, parents saying things like this is both totalitarian and a logical fallacy. 2. It's important to do this because we say so. This is a circular reasoning fallacy, and also a self-sealing fallacy. First of all, it's wrong to call something important unless the reason for its importance has been proven. If there is a claim, it must be proven, otherwise, it becomes the burden of proof fallacy. This statement doesn't prove anything, it just repeats itself. It doesn't matter. Just because parents say so, parents have no authority in that matter, and they're saying it doesn't change the fact. It must be proven important and true. Parents saying it doesn't make it right. A thorough investigation is necessary. That claim is under logical fallacy. 3. We took the phone away. You got a high grade, so the phone must be harmful. This falls under the false cause fallacy. The phone is not the sole factor influencing a high grade. There could be other reasons. Better studying, the exam being easier, or the teachers being better quality. But here, it's focused on only one reason. So, the question is, if the opposite were true, if the child got an 80 without the phone and a 100 with the phone, would the phone be the reason for the high grade? I'm sure you'd say no. Otherwise, it would be an arbitrary argument, and that would be extremely flawed. That thinking is under logical fallacy. 4. That's how it was in our time, so you'll do the same. This falls under the appeal to tradition fallacy. Just because something was done in the past doesn't mean it should be done now. The modern world is different from the past. Many things have been changed out of necessity. Many things used in the past, such as swords or wooden cars, are not commonly used today. There is no rule or justification that says something done in your parents' time must be done in your children's time. Saying this is like saying, our ancestors were socialists, therefore, we must be socialists, which is a false conclusion. There are many things in the modern world that didn't exist before, and that doesn't make them bad. That statement is under logical fallacy. 5. You must obey unwritten rules. This is the false necessity fallacy. There is no obligation or even a need to obey unwritten rules that are not in the law or religion. It is quite possible to live without unwritten rules. Moreover, if a rule is not written down or mentioned anywhere, it is not a serious rule. The Constitution and laws already exist for the well-being of the country. Unwritten rules are completely arbitrary ideas that lack proper arguments. This is also the bandwagon fallacy, meaning that just because many people do it doesn't mean they have to, and it's not serious. That statement is under logical fallacy. 6. I told you, you didn't do it. It's your fault. At first glance, this sentence seems like an innocent reproach, but it contains a serious logical fallacy. It also falls under the self-sealing fallacy. The fundamental problem is this. The fact that a warning has been given does not mean that the warning was correct, sufficient, or applicable. Here, the parent automatically justifies their own suggestion by citing the outcome. This statement is usually based on the following chain of logic. I warned you, you didn't listen. There was a negative outcome, so I was right. But this chain is logically incomplete, because the negative outcome doesn't necessarily have to be solely due to the warning not being heeded. There may be other variables, misinformation, incomplete information, or completely coincidental factors involved. That statement is under logical fallacy. 7. If you fail, we won't say we didn't tell you. This falls under the appeal to fear fallacy and the appeal to force fallacy. Success cannot be measured by fear or threat. Even if it has an effect, it is usually not positive. It only makes the child more anxious. It is highly likely to increase their stress level. This type of discourse doesn't present anything properly, and it's under logical fallacy. 8. You always do it wrong. This is the hasty generalization fallacy. Making a direct generalization based on a few mistakes is wrong and a logical fallacy. For someone to truly always do it wrong, everything they do must be known, recorded, or identified. If there is even one correct thing, the statement is invalid. There is no research, no logic. It's a completely empty and flawed generalization. If a child does a few good things, does that mean they'll be good at everything? No, therefore, such things don't directly reveal character. That statement is under logical fallacy. 9. We told you, you didn't do it. Now whatever happens, our decision is final. This falls under the appeal to authority fallacy and the self-sealing fallacy. Parents are not absolute power. They are not leaders. They are not even philosophers. For a decision to be valid, there must be proof that it is correct. If there isn't, it's not serious. Parents can't know everything. It's a logical fallacy for them to see themselves as so knowledgeable. They don't change the truth. The correct decision must be scientific, logical, and clear. Otherwise, this cannot be confirmed merely by saying it. That statement is under logical fallacy. 10. You don't do this, we won't love you, we'll be sad. This falls under the appeal to emotion fallacy. Emotions, such as sadness, anger, and happiness, do not change reality. Right and wrong are independent of emotions. That is, whether a person is sad, happy, or angry, what is right, and what is wrong is wrong. Just because someone is sad doesn't make that thing wrong. Moreover, this is also an appeal to force fallacy. There is a threatening tone, which is again not a proper argument or defense, but a logical fallacy. This does not change right and wrong. Right and wrong are beyond people's feelings and thoughts, so saying such things is a logical fallacy. 11. If you do it, everyone else is doing it. This falls under the bandwagon fallacy. Just because many people do something, and everyone else doesn't make it right, nor does the fact that nobody is doing it make it wrong. Right and wrong are completely independent of the number of people. In the past, many people believed that illnesses came from evil spirits, and many believed that the sun revolved around the earth, but this was later debunked. Does the fact that many people do something make it good? No. Similarly, what many people do doesn't change the fact of it. That statement is under logical fallacy. 12. We know what's best for you. This is a self-sealing fallacy and an appeal to authority fallacy. Simply saying, we know, isn't enough. It needs proof and evidence, otherwise, the statement hangs in the air. Furthermore, parents aren't the most knowledgeable people in the world, so such a statement is fundamentally flawed. They can't truly know a child well enough to find the best beliefs, the best games, or the most suitable profession. They have limitations. Even a scientist can know a child better than their parents and find a better solution. Parents can't know how to cure their child better than a doctor, because almost none of them have the same level of medical knowledge as doctors. Therefore, this kind of statement is a logical fallacy. 13. If you do this, it will be bad. This is a slippery slope fallacy. First, there must be proof that something bad will happen after doing it. It's also a burden of proof fallacy. This isn't an argument, information, or defense. It's just a baseless statement. If something like this is said without proof, it's meaningless. There must be proof that something bad will happen, and it must be true. That statement is under logical fallacy. 14. If you don't do it, it will harm you. This is a slippery slope fallacy. There's no proof that it will cause harm. Proof is necessary in such matters. Otherwise, it cannot be taken seriously. It would be absurd. If harm will occur after doing it, there must be proof. In laboratories, for example, there are warning signs. It clearly states that doing the wrong thing will cause harm, and these are already proven things. This type of parental statement lacks research, evidence, and is so flawed that it can't even be considered an argument. Saying such things is a logical fallacy. 15. Our rules apply to everyone. This falls under the overgeneralization fallacy. First of all, parents don't even run a country, let alone own a city. They don't even have world leaders, so saying such things is seriously flawed. Firstly, family rules are difficult to enforce even within their own homes, because they aren't written down, and there are no penalties for non-compliance. Even if there were, they wouldn't be serious because they're not written and official. Furthermore, it's wrong to assume these rules apply to everyone, because everyone else can easily continue their lives without following them. It's extremely difficult for parents to even rule a neighborhood, so it's impossible for parental rules to apply to everyone. That statement is under logical fallacy. 16. You can't understand this because you're too young. This is an ad hominem fallacy. A person's age is irrelevant to their understanding. A 40-year-old can understand information, as can a 16-year-old. Such statements are too weak to be considered arguments. If the child genuinely demonstrates understanding, this statement easily collapses. Therefore, attributing ignorance solely to age is a logical fallacy. 17. If you don't do this, you'll regret it someday. This is an appeal to consequences fallacy. Whether a person will truly regret their actions in the future is unknown. Even the government cannot predict the future, so it's a major mistake for parents to make such claims. There is no proof that they will regret it later. It will become clear when that time comes. Since humans are not beings who know the future, such statements cannot be true. Even if they were true, it would only relate to the event itself, not to knowledge. Such predictions about the future are logical fallacies. 18. If you do what we say, you will succeed. This falls under the false cause fallacy. Parents cannot be absolute in what they say. Success is solely attributed to what parents say. But there are many different reasons for success. Curriculum, teachers, grading, studying, test taking. Tons of things. It's not just about what parents say. If a child listens to them and doesn't succeed, then this statement is disproven. I'm sure many people have experienced and disproven this statement. That statement is under logical fallacy. 19. We are thinking of your well-being. We doing these things for your benefit. This falls under the appeal to emotion fallacy. It's not proof of anything. Saying this doesn't make the process correct. Something might be bad for the parents, but it's logical. Logical and true are independent of emotions and feelings. Moreover, there's no proof that something will actually be good for them. It needs to be proven if it really will be good. But even that must be logical and consistent, not emotional. This sentence is emotional manipulation and a logical fallacy. 20. If you don't do this, nothing good will happen to you. This is the false dichotomy fallacy. There is no proof that not doing it will lead to something bad. There needs to be. Otherwise, it's flawed and cannot be taken seriously. On the one hand, it's like a threat. It's not a true rumor. If something doesn't happen, and if it doesn't lead to bad things, then the statement immediately collapses. It hasn't been proven that something good won't happen. Therefore this statement is incorrect, flawed, and incomplete. Such statements are seriously logically flawed. 21. The Pomodoro technique is extremely effective. Using it is crucial for your success. Even though it can influence success, it's not valid for everyone. This is an overgeneralization fallacy. It could even be considered a fallacy of false dilemma and false necessity. There are people in history who succeeded without using the Pomodoro technique. Let me give 3 examples. Charles Darwin. Darwin's working method wasn't 25 minutes, 5 minutes, but rather rhythm, plus deep focus, plus long periods of reflection. He would work intensely, but calmly for a few hours in the mornings. Then he would take long walks, mulling over his thoughts. He followed a naturally fluctuating pace throughout the day instead of taking mini breaks. For him, the issue wasn't dividing the time, but listening to when the mind was productive, an early version of what we call deep work today. Nikola Tesla. Tesla's method stands at the complete opposite end of the spectrum from the Pomodoro technique. He was known to work for hours, sometimes non-stop. When inspiration struck, he followed the flow, not took a break. He considered forced breaks an enemy. Productivity. For Tesla, the level of mental intensity, time blocks, was the determining factor. Other words, it was the state of working, not the working time. J.K. Rowling. Rowling adapted to life circumstances rather than fixed time cycles in her writing process. She wrote in cafes, at home, sometimes when tired, sometimes at night. She didn't have a system like, write for this many minutes, then take a break. What she valued was being able to re-enter the story, not a stopwatch. So her success was the product of discipline but flexible work. So we understand that the Pomodoro tactic isn't a tactic that can be applied to everyone. Success is possible without it. 22. The internet is a dangerous place. This falls under the hasty generalization fallacy and the overgeneralization fallacy. Yes, some people are bad, but that's not even the majority of the internet. It's an exaggerated generalization. There are many good people on the internet. This flawed generalization, made without examining each person individually, is quite common and incorrect. These individuals may not even know the internet well, but those who enjoy and spend time on the internet can easily understand that this statement is untrue. Making such generalizations is a logical fallacy. 23. Don't talk to strangers. This falls under the hasty generalization fallacy and the overgeneralization fallacy. It's an exaggerated generalization, even bordering on excessive suspicion. Not knowing someone's identity doesn't make them a potential threat. This isn't about examining a bank employee. This is an assumption that applies to everyone, and it's extremely flawed. A person may not know someone, but that doesn't prevent them from being a scientist. Unless there's proof that they're a bad person, the likelihood of them causing problems is close to zero. Not knowing someone doesn't mean they're bad or suspicious. Even agnostic philosophy is more logical than this statement. This type of generalization is a fairly common logical fallacy. 24. Don't trust anyone. This is a hasty generalization fallacy and an overgeneralization fallacy. It approaches everyone with suspicion, almost like excessive skepticism. But it's wrong. Some people are genuinely important and good. Looking at them with suspicion leads to error. It's wrong to call someone a prude unless proven bad. If there is evidence that the other person is good and important, then they are trustworthy. Moreover, this sentence is inconsistent because it says to trust family while not trusting others. For this sentence to be consistent, one would have to distrust family as well. Perhaps there are criminals among them. Who knows? What if so? One shouldn't trust the sentence itself either. If you don't know the arguments to prove what you believe, you shouldn't trust them either. It enters an endless loop, and it's clear that it's fundamentally illogical. This type of statement is a logical fallacy. 25. Don't leave your phone charging because it's dangerous. It might explode. It's happened to some people. This simultaneously falls under the hasty generalization fallacy, the overgeneralization fallacy, the appeal to possibility, and the appeal to fear fallacy. Just because it happened to some people doesn't mean it's true for everyone. Some people might have faulty phones or chargers, or tons of apps running in the background. If the probability of something happening isn't high, then it can't be taken seriously. There's a possibility of an earthquake tomorrow, a possible accident the next time you drive, or a meteor falling tomorrow. Is it important to take those possibilities seriously? Sure not. If you say yes, then do nothing and be suspicious of everything. You'll understand how absurd that is. The existence of a possibility doesn't mean it shouldn't be done. Moreover, fear is not proof. Fear cannot be an argument. Fear cannot decide what is right or wrong. Therefore, presenting an argument based on anxiety is wrong and a logical fallacy. 26. What you're doing isn't normal, it's wrong. This falls under the bandwagon fallacy. The fact that something isn't normal or common doesn't make it wrong. The fact that many people do it doesn't make it right. If there's no proof that something is right, and it's not right, then the number of people doing it is irrelevant. If most people drive black cars, should we too know? Or if everyone is interested in a certain brand, should we be interested in that brand too? No, in short, whether something is widespread or not is irrelevant. Statements like this are logical fallacies. 27. You have to follow the rules like we do, like food rules. This falls under the false necessity fallacy and the appeal to tradition fallacy. It even falls under the bandwagon fallacy. It's not a necessity, it's a matter of preference. It can never be proven that it should be that way, because it's not a logical or scientific fact. It's entirely a matter of past habits and customs. Let's think about it this way. Eating pizza with a fork seems strange, because it's not common. If everyone ate pizza with a fork, then eating it with your hands would seem strange. So there's no right or wrong way. Something from the past doesn't automatically become right. Such things are exaggerations and logical fallacies. 28. Respect, tolerance, and empathy are important. This falls under the false necessity fallacy and the appeal to emotion fallacy. A person can live without knowing these things, philosophize, or even enter politics. These don't prove anything and aren't arguments. They only soften human relationships, which is insignificant. Moreover, they are arbitrary. It's difficult to defend them logically. They don't strengthen the argument. They don't build logic. They only affect human relationships, which isn't a big deal or an important issue. That statement is under logical fallacy. 29. Sharing is extremely important, and you have to do it. This falls under the false necessity fallacy. Sharing is often a matter of choice. This is also an appeal to tradition fallacy, because it's considered important simply because it's been around for a long time. A person can exist without sharing, and the other person can live without sharing. The truth remains unchanged. There's no argument. Of course, there are exceptions. It's obligatory for Muslims to give zakat alms, but when it's just 1/40 of one's wealth, it doesn't really lead to the kind of widespread sharing expected in society. Also, in ancient times, in the cave age, people shared food and animals with each other to survive. This was necessary. Apart from these two instances, sharing isn't something to be exaggerated or considered important. Things like sharing toys in kindergarten or pencils in high school, those aren't obligations. They might be good, but they're not necessary. This kind of statement is an exaggeration and a logical fallacy. 30. The internet isn't a useful place for you, it's harmful. This falls under the fallacy of overgeneralization and hasty generalization. They assume the internet is full of false information, whereas, with rational logic, there's information that isn't even discussed on television. Some information may be true, but it hasn't been officially confirmed. In subjects like religion, science, philosophy, and politics, much information is true, Even unofficial information is rationally correct. Unfortunately, there are some people who don't know the internet very well. If they did a little research, they could find useful things. Helping others is also possible. That statement is under logical fallacy. 31. Everyone has to do sports. This falls under the false necessity fallacy. Nobody is obligated to do sports. It's a choice. It's possible to be good without sports. It's possible to be important without sports. Sports don't mean charisma. Sports are something you can do voluntarily. You don't have to do it. I'll give 3 examples of important people from history who didn't do sports. Albert Einstein. He wasn't muscular or athletic. His charisma, intelligence, originality, power of thought. He changed world history. He said. Look at that physique, they said. Look at that brain. Steve Jobs. He wasn't one of the fitness icons. His charisma, vision, speaking style, simple but powerful demeanor. He fundamentally changed people's relationship with technology. Charlie Chaplin. He wasn't athletic, but his screen charisma was legendary. His charisma, body language, humor, emotional impact. He is still recognized all over the world. In fact, charisma is subjective. It cannot be proved. So, sports are a choice, not an obligation. Saying it's obligatory is a logical fallacy. 32. You have to get married. It's important. This falls under the false necessity fallacy. Marriage may be meaningful, good, and important for some people, but others may not like it. No one is obligated to get married. At most, it's recommended. It's possible to live without marriage, to be happy, to be well, and to be comfortable. There are many people who are unmarried, but are important. Let me give 3 examples. Isaac Newton, never married. He fundamentally changed physics, mathematics, and science. The architect of law still used today. Leonardo da Vinci, never married. Painter, inventor, scientist, one of the greatest geniuses in human history. Jane Austen, never married. Her novels are still read all over the world. It's ironic that she is one of the most influential writers on love and marriage. So, we understand that marriage is a choice, not an obligation. That statement is under logical fallacy. 33. We're doing this for your own good. This falls under the appeal to emotion fallacy. It's not an argument, and even if it's called a defense, it's very weak. It's not proof of anything. It's merely covering up the truth or event. Just because something is done with good intentions doesn't prove it's right and good. Even if done with good intentions, it doesn't mean the other person will be positively affected. For example, let's say someone is about to cross a pedestrian crossing. You offer to carry them. They refuse. You force them. They still refuse. And by forcing them, they'll be negatively affected, not positively. What matters is whether what happened was right or wrong, intention or purpose, because that doesn't affect the outcome or the truth. What matters is the effect and the logic. That statement is under logical fallacy. 34. Don't trust AI. It always lies. This falls under the hasty generalization fallacy and the overgeneralization fallacy. The fact that it makes mistakes in some areas doesn't mean it can't be trusted. It also falls under the appeal to possibility fallacy. AI doesn't make mistakes in most cases. It's good. No. If you're looking for someone completely flawless, they don't even exist among humans. Everyone makes mistakes, and philosophers' opinions can conflict. Artificial intelligence can be bad at numerical things, but it's generally good at verbal things. This is an exaggerated generalization and a logical fallacy. 35. Don't trust information on the internet. It's all lies. This falls under the fallacy of overgeneralization and hasty generalization. Even saying most of it is wrong is incorrect. Much of the information, if it's false, can be deleted and reported. There's information that's only on the internet, some things you can see online but not on television. and unofficial information, but that doesn't mean it's false. This is an exaggerated generalization and a logical fallacy. 36. We know best. This falls under the self-sealing fallacy and the appeal to authority fallacy. Parents are not the most knowledgeable people. Even knowledgeable people can make mistakes. It's not enough to say you know best. You need to prove it. The explanation must be substantiated. Most parents aren't scientists, philosophers, debaters, or leaders. So, saying things like this is fundamentally wrong. Statements must be supported by arguments and proven. Such exaggerated statements are a logical fallacy. 37. Politics is harmful to children. This falls under the burden of proof fallacy and the hasty generalization fallacy. This kind of thing has circulated among the public, but hasn't been proven. Teaching politics to children is like teaching religion. Let's say it has harmful effects. This doesn't apply to everyone, only to some. Politics is an important issue. It deals with tons of important topics like how a country should be, how justice should be, and how the economy can be improved. Therefore, saying something like this is completely wrong. So owning it is most likely beneficial. It would need to be radical for it to become harmful, which is an extremely probability. That statement is under logical fallacy. 38. The phones, tablets, and computers they have are useless. This is wrong. They have many benefits. They have improved humanity. They are used in all companies like NASA, Apple, and Google. As for those at home, they also have benefits. Many useful things can be done, such as creativity, problem solving, and acquiring knowledge. Most of them cannot be considered wrong. Watching religious discussions on a phone is more beneficial than thought, or it's possible to understand possible scenarios with simulation games. Electronic devices are extremely useful. This rumor is false. 39. Playing games is not beneficial. It has many benefits, and there is evidence to support this. Research supports it. Let me tell you. 1. Cognitive benefits. Video games, especially action, FPS, and strategy genres, provide measurable improvements in many cognitive areas. Improved visual attention, selective attention, sustained attention, and visual spatial skills. Faster and more accurate reaction time. Improved working memory and short-term memory. Improved problem solving, decision-making speed, and multitasking ability. Spatial reasoning, particularly effective in action games, comparable to university-level spatial training. Key resources: Granick et al. 2014. American Psychologist Review. Cognitive, motivational, emotional, social benefits. PubMed. APA, Badiou et al. 2018. Meta-analysis. Mean G 0.34-0.55 effect size in perceptual and attentional skills in action games. Psychological Bulletin. 2023. Meta-analysis. Smith and Bossett. D equals 0.25 moderate effect size in general cognitive games with video game training. NEW or ABCD Study 2022-2025 updates daily. Children who play games for 3+ hours show faster and more accurate performance on cognitive tests plus a difference in brain activity. 2. Social benefits. Increased empathy, helping behavior, and prosocial attitudes in cooperative co-op games. Teamwork and communication skills, especially in games like MMOs and battle royales. Some games can strengthen social bonds even when played alone. Key resources: Granick et al. 2014 review, plus prosocial game studies. Correlational studies showing increased social competence in multiplayer games. Japanese Middle School Study 2024. Science Direct. A 7-lesson Minecraft-based chemistry curriculum increased motivation and inquiry. 5. Ling Abstract Concepts Concrete. Frontier Study 2025. Open creative games like Roblox increase imagination and creativity, more effective than Genshin Impact. Green and Bavelier Research 2006-2019. FPS players excel in 3D, mental rotation, spatial perception, and distractibility. Contrast sensitivity increases by 58%. 40. That person wants it, so you have to do it. This falls under the fallacy of appeal to pity, appeal to emotion, and false necessity. We can even add the appeal to authority fallacy. Just because someone wants something doesn't mean it has to be done. They're not a leader, president, or commander. These kinds of things are about emotions, which don't reflect reality. Emotions can't be arguments. What matters is whether something is right or wrong, but the emotions themselves. Also, just because someone asks for something doesn't mean we have to give it to them. We can continue without giving anything. It's fine. But if it's the president or someone else asking for taxes, then yes, becomes important. It's possible to ignore requests of friends, lovers, and family, and that's not a problem. But if a president, commander, or leader wants it, it's necessary because there's an official sanction and penalty. It's approved and they have the authority. However, even this doesn't prove the truth. If they're genuinely asking for something logical and consistent, then what they want is right. If it's wrong, it doesn't matter who they are. So, this kind of statement is a logical fallacy in most cases. 41. Emotions are more important than logic. This falls under the appeal to emotion fallacy. It's a very strange statement. It's impossible for emotions to be more important than logic. The concept of the appeal to emotion fallacy already aids this from the start. Emotions cannot prove anything, reflect reality. Present arguments provide truth or show the right way. Logic, on the other hand, is the opposite. It shows reality can provide truth, finds the right way, is consistent, and can do many other things. Those who think emotions are more important than logic have either not taken philosophy classes or have taken very few. You can't solve things with emotions, you solve them with logic. The more logical you are, the more consistent you are. This statement is very wrong. 42. You have no brain, or your brain isn't working. This is a category error. Brains exist. Everyone has a brain, and animals have brains. Saying, you have no brain is actually completely contrary to science, because if there really were no brains, nothing would exist. We wouldn't be able to think, speak, walk, or even breathe. The brain isn't just about thought. It's also the center for movement, memory, emotions, reflexes, and survival. The brain is like a control center that manages all the systems in the body. It determines when the heart will race, how the muscles will move, and how pain will be felt. Moreover, this isn't unique to humans. Animals also have brains. They use them for hunting, escaping, learning, and communication. Even simpler creatures have nervous systems because life is impossible without control. In short, the brain isn't a matter of, does it exist or not? It's synonymous with life itself. If you don't have a brain, you don't exist. 43. If there were no schools, everyone would be in a terrible situation. This is the appeal to tradition fallacy. Because schools are oppressive for many students, they may not be happy, even if they find a profession. If a person truly wants to learn something, they can learn from books and official websites. Humanity existed before schools. Even in times like the Cave Age and the Tongue Age, people were developing themselves. Today, this is even more true. Learning is easier because of artificial intelligence, websites, and YouTube videos. Now, I'll make a bet. Give someone the books for the profession they want to learn, and at 18, they'll be able to apply for jobs. If a person doesn't want to work, being forced won't benefit them or make them happy. A person can even work from home and achieve their dream if they want to. So, this statement is both logically flawed and incorrect. 44. You have to say thank you when you do something. This falls under the false necessity fallacy. It's not a law, not a written rule. You can act without saying thank you. This isn't an indication of a fact. It also falls under the appeal to emotion fallacy, because it's a claim about reality related to emotions. Moreover, the concept of saying thank you is inconsistent in itself. Why? Because there are people behind an event, and not just a few. For example, after eating a meal, many people thank their parents. But for that gratitude to be consistent, you need to thank everyone who made it possible for that product to reach that home. That is, you need to thank the person who prepared the meal, the worker, the boss, the company, the place that sold it, the employee of that place, the founder of that place, the state, the creator of money, the person who invented the meal, their ideology, and even the political party, because they all contributed to you being fed that meal. Perhaps even more people. Or, when you receive a product, for the gratitude given to the person who provided the product. To be consistent, you need to thank those who invented it, put it on the shelf, the company, the market itself, the giants who allowed it, and so on. So this concept is actually an inconsistent one that contradicts itself. 45. We have to love our teacher because they taught us something. This falls under the false necessity fallacy. Just because they provided some benefits doesn't mean they have to be loved. Athletes have contributed to the world, but most people who aren't involved in sports don't even like them. There's no obligation, it's a choice. Similarly, musicians providing benefits doesn't mean they have to be loved. If they've done bad things, the good things don't matter. For example, dictators change the world. Perhaps communism and fascism would be in very different places. But that doesn't make dictators good. This is a seemingly clever statement, but it's actually a logical fallacy. 46. She is very sad. You need to apologize to him or her. This is an appeal to emotion fallacy and an appeal to pity fallacy. A person being sad doesn't change the fact, nor does it indicate what should be done. Facts can be upsetting, but they are still facts. An apology is only appropriate if the other person is right. Otherwise, it's an appeal to pity fallacy. For example, in a debate between two people, one loses and is sad. The loser is guilty because they were saying the wrong thing and need to improve themselves. Suffering doesn't reflect reality. Therefore, this sentence is a logical fallacy in most cases. 47. Emotions and the voice of the heart are extremely important. This is an overgeneralization fallacy, and also an appeal to emotion fallacy. These don't show reality, they only reflect what is felt. The human brain may have difficulty accepting what it doesn't like, which leads to the voice of the heart being misinterpreted. Logic and reason are far more important. This is how one arrives at the true answer. Logic reveals the truth, not emotions or the heart. The heart is important as a human organ, but logic is crucial for reason and knowledge. False information can be reached incorrectly in this way, so this sentence is a logical fallacy. 48. What we believe is right. What others believe is wrong. This falls under the self-sealing fallacy and the burden of proof fallacy. Whether political or religious, if one cannot prove what they believe, this statement is false. One must be able to prove their beliefs for them to be logical and consistent. For example, if one cannot prove that their religion is the true religion, there is a problem. Dogmatism exists for this reason. When teaching something to a child, it needs to be proven to be consistent, otherwise, it remains empty. This statement is a logical fallacy and arrogance. 49. We are having fun. There is no problem. This falls under the appeal to fun fallacy, or appeal to emotion fallacy. Something being fun doesn't make it right or good, illogical and consistent. Justification is needed to do something, otherwise it becomes illogical, absurd, and empty. A person can have fun even when doing bad things. A person might enjoy cheating, but that doesn't prove that cheating is good. Enjoyment isn't an argument, it's not proof. It's a completely empty defense. This sentence is a logical fallacy. 50. Do it just for me. This falls under the appeal to pity fallacy and the appeal to emotion fallacy. Emotion and pain don't actually show what should be done. Knowledge transcends emotions and pain. Painful truths are still truths. Fun lies are still lies. Right and wrong are important. Otherwise, one falls into error. A person wanting something doesn't make that behavior good, nor does it prove it's right. The sentence is emotional manipulation and a logical fallacy. 51. Everyone has to say good morning and good night. This falls under the false necessity fallacy. There is absolutely no such obligation. It's not a law, nor is it knowledge found in religion or science. It's not even a mathematical reality. Therefore, there's no harm in not doing it. If the defense is, it feels good, then it falls under the appeal to emotion fallacy, and also the bandwagon fallacy. Because the fact that most people do it doesn't make it right. Such things can, or be obligations. So, this sentence is a logical fallacy. 52. You must watch this movie or series. This falls under the objectification fallacy and the false necessity fallacy. No one is obligated to watch a movie. This isn't military service. The obligation to watch something only applies when winning something in a game or watching a video on YouTube. But there's also the option of not watching it at all. This is authoritarianism. If you force something, it no longer gives pleasure. Work done under duress cannot be enjoyable. This is a mental reality. Moreover, watching something can never be an obligation. It's not a law, and it's possible to disregard it. This applies to some videos on social media, such as those with captions like, "Don't skip this video," which also fall into this fallacy. In short, this claim of compulsion is actually a logical fallacy. 53. You must read this book. This falls under the false necessity fallacy. A person can only read a book of their own free will. If it's for knowledge, it's fine, it's necessary, but not compulsory. However, it's a logical fallacy for literature teachers and parents to force children to read books, because there is absolutely no such compulsion. Politically, there's no such thing. Scientifically, this information doesn't exist. Religion only commands reading its own texts, and philosophically and mathematically, we arrive at the same conclusion. Not reading literature is a choice. You can't force someone to enjoy something. Of course, it doesn't end there. They might force people to read books because it's beneficial, but the funny thing is that these benefits don't only come from books. Seeing and learning from texts can already be done through dialogues and subtitles in games, on fandom pages. Power scaling already solves this problem, and reading comments and examining posts on social media eliminates this issue. It's clear that the benefits of reading books are greatly exaggerated, as if only they possess special qualities. This kind of assertion of obligation is actually a logical fallacy. 54. This movie or series or book is very good. This falls under the objectification fallacy. The goodness of a fictional work can never be proven. Perhaps its quality is good, but no argument can support it. If the argument is presented as the majority likes it, it's a bandwagon fallacy. If we consider the concept of universe design, we move towards the non-sequitur fallacy, because such things can never prove the well-written nature of the universe. The goodness of something unreal cannot be definitively proven because it's not logical or scientific, but an emotional and tasteful matter, which falls under the appeal to emotion fallacy. In short, this type of statement is a logical fallacy. 55. The movie or series or book or fictional universe you like is bad. This falls under the objectification fallacy. And there's also a possibility of it falling under the ad hominem fallacy. Just as it's impossible to definitively prove a work of fiction is good, it's equally impossible to definitively prove it's bad. This might be possible using the logic of Toxigate, but otherwise, arguments attempting to prove a work is bad fall into the non sequitur fallacy. The logic of Toxigate is the only logical approach. Otherwise, proving Sprunky is bad seems impossible. We understand that such seemingly certain rumors are almost always flawed logically. 56. Forcing someone to study is beneficial. This falls under the false cause fallacy, and also the false necessity fallacy. Forcing someone to study doesn't mean they'll become more knowledgeable. They might forget what they studied the next day. Effective studying isn't solely dependent on force. There are other ways, such as studying and solving problems on their own. Moreover, forced work isn't enjoyable. It frustrates. This type of study technique isn't a necessary path to success. This coercion is a logical fallacy. 57. Forcing someone to solve tests makes them more successful. This falls under the false necessity fallacy and the false cause fallacy. Forcing someone to solve tests doesn't necessarily make them more successful. The opposite is also possible. It's possible to succeed by solving tests willingly, or even by reading if they're lucky. This method of solving problems is presented as a necessary technique for success, but it isn't. This coercion is a complete logical fallacy. 58. You have to be nice to everyone. This falls under the false necessity fallacy and the appeal to emotion fallacy. There is absolutely no such obligation. It's not written in the laws, but it's possible to not behave well, but also not cause problems, or to retaliate when faced with evil. There are also people who don't deserve to be treated well. For example, you can't treat objectively bad people well. This is fundamentally wrong. It's related to emotions and feelings cannot prove reality, so are not serious. This kind of statement, which seems necessary, is actually a logical fallacy. 59. Anyone deserves to be loved, respected, and valued. This is an appeal to emotion fallacy, and it also falls under false necessity. This is a completely unproven and unargued thought. Such things prove nothing, and there is no necessity. People can continue their lives without these things and not experience problems. Moreover, there are indeed objectively bad people who don't deserve such things. The existence of good people in the world doesn't mean there aren't bad people. This kind of defense is weak. It doesn't clearly explain or prove anything. The statement is a complete logical fallacy. 60. This is our national food or drink, so you have to like it or be interested in it. While it may seem like an innocent cultural appropriation at first glance, a closer look reveals serious logical and categorical errors. One of the most fundamental problems is the false necessity fallacy. Something being national does not obligate one to feel a particular emotion towards it. The adjective national, a factual definition, cannot be interpreted as a normative obligation. You must like it. There is no logical bridge between the two. Cultural belonging does not automatically produce emotional obedience. Another related error is the category fallacy. Food, drink, or any cultural product falls into the realm of aesthetics and personal taste. The concept of nation, however, is a political and historical category. To overlay these two areas and say, what is national must also be liked, personally, is to falsely equate things belonging to different categories. Identities may be collective, but taste is individual. A person's dislike of a food does not negate its historical or cultural value. More profoundly, this statement imposes obligatory sentiment. The problem is not only logical, but also ethical, imposing on an individual what they should like or be interested in based on their identity transforms culture from a shared space into a test of loyalty. Culture here becomes a command, not an invitation. At this point, the issue takes on a fascist hue. Fascism sprouts not only through state coercion, but also through emotional coercion that seems normal in everyday life. Cultural heritage may be important, and may even need to be preserved, but importance does not create obligation. There is a profound difference between freely loving something and being forced to love it. Therefore, this type of statement is a logical fallacy. 61. You will never succeed. This falls under the appeal to consequences fallacy. It's impossible to know for certain whether something will succeed in the future. Even a government would struggle with this. It might seem likely to fail, but it could still succeed. Or it might seem likely to succeed, but it could still fail. It's wrong to make predictions and assume they're correct. We only reach a conclusion if the event actually happens. In this way, even knowing how the economy will be in the future is extremely difficult, even impossible, because it's not certain. This type of speculation is a logical fallacy. 62. We've never seen you work, therefore you don't work. This falls under the argument from ignorance fallacy. Not seeing something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We haven't seen historical events, but we know they happen. We haven't seen aliens, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. This is simple atheist logic. If I can't see it, it doesn't exist. Therefore, galaxies don't exist because I can't see them. The absurdity lies in the fact that a child might be working when their parents aren't watching. To reach a definitive conclusion, continuous 24-hour monitoring is necessary. Otherwise, this would be a logical fallacy. Statements like, I didn't see it, and I didn't hear it don't indicate right or wrong. This type of sentence is a logical fallacy. 63. You should follow the news. This falls under the false necessity fallacy. A child or young person is not obligated to follow the news. They can live happily without any problems. Moreover, those who advocate this cannot present proper arguments. They simply say things like, this is strange, this is ignorance, etc. Of course, there may be others, but even if there were, it wouldn't matter much, because this falls under the false necessity fallacy. It's not mandatory. If you don't do it, there's no problem. These kinds of things are not mandatory. This type of sentence is a logical fallacy. 64. Don't trust anyone outside of us. This falls under the self-sealing fallacy over generalization and hasty generalization. It's not right to praise oneself or present oneself as correct unnecessarily. Parents are fallible individuals. They have a higher risk of error compared to knowledgeable people. This is an exaggeration. Furthermore, it's a mistake to say such a thing because not all people are examined individually. Some people are even more trustworthy and important than parents, such as prominent scientists, intelligent debaters, and influential academics. They can do things that even parents can't and know many things better than parents. To judge them based on the example of some bad people is a logical fallacy. This sentence is flawed. 65. People on the internet are not good and knowledgeable. This falls under the hasty generalization fallacy, and could even fall under the argument from ignorance fallacy. There are people on the internet who are better than you think. Mr. Beast is a great example. There are many helpful and useful people. There are also knowledgeable people. Towards Eternity, Khan 2008, and Aluxokan are examples of this. Those who say this don't know the internet well enough. If you do a little research, you'll understand much better. There are many good and knowledgeable people on the internet. I've already given a few examples. You can find many more if you browse around a bit. 66. You only need to use your phone or computer for schoolwork. This falls under the false necessity fallacy and the non sequitur fallacy. There is absolutely no such necessity. It's not even a law. Electronic devices aren't designed solely for schoolwork. They serve other purposes: playing games, passing time, being happy, researching, and having fun. There are many reasons. Those who make this statement ignore these factors. Such parents don't understand technology very well. In this world isn't just about schoolwork. There are other things too, like art, research, and exploration. This kind of statement is a logical fallacy and is wrong. 67. If you believe in yourself, there's nothing you can't do. This is an overgeneralization fallacy and falls under the burden of proof fallacy. Believing in yourself doesn't change reality. It only increases motivation, but even that isn't a significant effect. In other words, it's not serious. What matters is skill and intelligence. Otherwise, even if someone who believes in themselves is weak in mathematics, it's still very difficult for them to become a mathematician. Some people say that belief is half the battle, but there's no proof of this. Observation and research are either lacking or insufficient. It's possible to succeed without believing in yourself. A person can get a high score on an exam without believing in themselves. What matters is skill, not belief. Belief becomes meaningless if it's not proven. 68. You can't accomplish anything without wanting to. This falls under the fallacy of overgeneralization. It's considered a burden of proof. Because desire and skill don't share the same logical bridge. They are different concepts. A person might want to be a builder, but lack the intelligence and strength and still not succeed. Or a person might not want to be a soldier, but have good military skills and complete their studies well. This is a large generalization, and a false one at that. Desire and skill are not directly proportional. Wanting something doesn't change reality. Skill can only change reality by using one's intellect. From this, we understand that skill even controls desire. Imagine someone traveling between dimensions. Whether they want to or not, they can go to other dimensions. Those who combine desire and skill fall into the false cause fallacy, because success doesn't necessarily have to be to desire. It's possible to succeed for other reasons. 69. You should love us the most. We are the most important. This falls into the false necessity fallacy, the burden of proof, and the non sequitur fallacy. First of all, there is no such obligation. It's possible not to love one's parents, to respect them without loving them, to attack them without respecting them, and to remain silent when faced with evil. This is not a serious obligation. Obligatory love is involuntary and beyond one's control, so it cannot be genuine. Love must be voluntary for genuine love. Moreover, love is not an obligation if it doesn't apply somewhere, if there's a different path, and if there's no serious problem, then that thing cannot be obligatory. Moreover, there is no proof that they are the most important. In fact, they are not important in the general world because they did not impact world history, did not create revolutions, are not widely known, and did not make very strong contributions. If you want me to name some of the most important people in the world, here are 10 examples. Prophet Muhammad, Isaac Newton, Confucius, Karl Marx, Charles Darwin, Socrates, George Washington, James Watt, Kai Lun, Christopher Columbus. These are extremely important people. Influence does not create an obligation to love, so the obligation to love is also a flawed conclusion. This sentence is a logical fallacy. 70. I need to investigate because I am curious. This falls under the non sequitur fallacy. Curiosity is not an argument. It is not a reality. It is simply an action. It is not a serious subject like religion, philosophy, or politics. Moreover, there is no compulsion in this matter. For example, just because I am curious about what would happen if I drove a car above 400 miles per hour, does not mean I will drive the car at that speed. Or, one should not focus on empty and simple things just because one is curious. Otherwise, it becomes an unserious situation. Questioning society can be beneficial, but this curiosity must be used wisely. Otherwise, it can lead to excessive skepticism. Curiosity is not proof of anything, especially if it is not focused on truth. Truth-focused curiosity is important, but it leads to irrelevant conclusions about simple things. For example, being curious about someone's private Life is a non sequitur fallacy. It is flawed and unimportant. This behavior is a logical fallacy. There are two additional bonuses, especially to defenses that parents watching this video might make. Let's eliminate both. We will continue to do and say it anyway. In this case, it means the parents are people who cannot defend themselves properly. This falls under the dogmatic fallacy and confirmation bias. This is dogmatism, not even a serious behavior. If they could seriously defend themselves, they would question themselves and examine the arguments carefully. If they continue, despite being refuted, this is dogmatism, and dogmatism. This is a logical fallacy in rumor and behavior. This person is wrong. Don't trust them. This is the burden of proof fallacy. I'm sure even serious debaters wouldn't present this sentence. First of all, there is no proof that I am wrong. My 70 refutations are still valid and have not been refuted. If a parent truly believes I'm wrong, they'll have to prove that their own statements don't fall into any fallacies, but they can't do that because the logical fallacies are very clear. Therefore, their only option is to eliminate the concept of logical fallacies and errors themselves, which is impossible because such concepts criticize flawed ways of thinking, and those who engage in such things are clearly making incorrect statements. So, nobody can prove that the concept of fallacies is unnecessary. In short, the parents are cornered. No matter what they do, they can't prove these refutations are wrong. Yes, friends, we've debunked dozens of common phrases used by parents. If you want, you can send this video to them, or you can use the refutations in this video against their own statements. An adult can even debate with me if they think I'm wrong. They can come to the comments and express their opinion. This video will probably be one of the biggest refutation videos on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who watched. Please send this video to those who need it. They might improve. Thank you for watching this video and supporting me.